Happy Wednesday, everybody, and welcome into Morning in the Valley, your year-round home for Missouri Valley Conference basketball coverage. I'm Jeff Bidwell. Glad you are with us today, wherever you are watching us, Facebook, X, YouTube. This show continuing to grow a little bit more every day. Thank you for that. If you've got some Missouri Valley basketball-loving friends, haven't checked us out yet, please share this with them. Do us a favor as we continue to grow. Head on over to YouTube and share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Just search Morning in the Valley. You'll get the little notification bell going off every time we go live, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, right here at 9 a.m. So I appreciate your support with that. Coming up today, we will talk with Northern Iowa men's radio voice JW Cox, as we have talked a lot about the retention. Illinois State bringing a lot of folks back. They're an April preseason pick to win the Valley. Murray State doing a whole lot of work in the transfer portal. They're in that upper tier as well, but let's not rule out Northern Iowa. 11 players off this past season's team coming back, including third-team All-Missouri Valley Conference standout Trey Campbell. So they are most certainly in the conversation as well as those the April frontrunners, if you will, still 7 months or so away from getting after. Oh, gosh, only 6 months away. I got to shortchanged a month. 6 months. Thank goodness. Almost time for basketball here sooner than later. So we'll talk with JW coming up here in about 10 or 15 minutes. The news of the day today, mercifully for so many people, the transfer portal, at least on the men's side, has officially closed. Midnight last night, it officially shut for the year. The only way guys can get in now is if there is a coaching change, which on April the 23rd, you would hope that all those have happened, but sometimes they do happen late in the game. So that players would have 30 days at that point. Their portal window would reopen. So the final number on the guys' side that I saw this morning, right around 2,500 players got into the portal. Now, of those, it's a little inflated just from a standpoint of you had 250 walk-ons in there. You've got 200 guys that went in there with no eligibility remaining, sort of the Hail Mary trip into the portal. And you saw a lot of that yesterday, a lot of 11th hour entries into the portal with guys just going in and hoping. They're going to have to apply for waivers. They're going to have to cross every finger they can, hoping they get in. And on some level, I understand it. You know, there's the one part of me, the old man on the rocking chair screaming at the clouds about like, all right, guys, you got to go. Like we've gone through the COVID era. We've gone through these 6th and 7th year guys, you know, at 24, 25 years old. It's like, all right, it's time to get out of college. On the other hand, the 25-year-old version of me be like, hey man, stay in college as long as you can. But then also look, in the NIL world now, you can make money. And for guys whose careers may be over, or look, I don't want to go overseas and try to play, make 50 grand or 70 grand. If I can stay in the States and stay in college and make 6 figures, like why not? It's worth a shot. So a lot of names went in yesterday, but a lot of names that ultimately I would presume, but don't want to get too ahead of yourselves because it feels like everybody that has applied and fought with the NCAA for extra time as of late seems like they get that time. So that will play itself out here in the coming weeks. The one thing to keep in mind is you may see the portal closed at midnight. There will still be some kids that get into the portal. You will see some news break in the next 48 hours or so of guys that are in the portal, and that's okay because kids had until last night at midnight to go to their administration and their compliance folks and say, I want to get in the portal. Well, the schools then have 48 hours to put them in the portal. So for anybody that literally was just waiting till yesterday, if there's a delay for whatever reason on the compliance end, it might take a day or two for them to get in there. So don't flip out if you see folks in the portal between now and Friday, but that is the case. The women's portal, I believe, closes tonight. So same speech for tomorrow on the women's side, but at least for now, portal madness seems like it is coming to a close here, mercifully, for now, as we're starting to see Belmont just a minute ago, within the last hour, put out there, hey, here's our roster for next year. We're set and ready to go. So it's like nobody's fleeing anymore. There may be some more additions, but the exits have finally wound down. How about in terms of additions, in terms of setting rosters? We had one earlier this week. I think it was Monday afternoon, and it's Joshua Hughes from Evansville. Just to simply, I'm back, and it's a big return for David Ragland. Just another one of those pieces on the inside, the Twin Towers. You've got Connor Turnbull, the reigning and defending Missouri Valley Conference Defensive Player of the Year, 6'10", rising senior. Hughes coming back, a rising junior, average 7 points, 5 rebounds a game, and so that is pretty. That's a pretty important piece there on the inside for Coach Ragland to have that to have those bookends down on the interior with Turnbull and Hughes. One young man we knew about a couple of weeks ago that had already committed, but he is now officially signed is AJ Casey, who spent his first 2 years at Miami of Florida, part of the Final Four team with the Canes down there, and Jim Larinaga came up to St. Louis. Only played 3 games last year as he just dealt with injuries all season long. There was a hamstring in the early part of the season. There was an ankle in the I guess the hamstring was in the preseason. The ankle was in the early part of the year, and then some back injuries shut him down for the season. But the AJ Casey now has signed with the Purple Aces. And lastly, another commitment, and that is from a young man by the name of Keyshawn Porter. As Porter comes from North Carolina Central, started his career at Radford, played 1 year there, went the junior college route for a couple of seasons, and then ended up at North Carolina Central for the last 2 years. 6'5", senior guard, going to be a sixth-year guy, so some experience in the backcourt for David Ragland after he lost a bunch in the backcourt with Tayshaun Comer and Gabriel Posado and Tanner Cuff and the like. So Porter comes in his junior season, his first season there at North Carolina Central, averaged about 9 points, shot 39.5% from 3 this past year. Numbers went up from a points per game standpoint to almost 11. 3-point percentage down a bit to about 37.5, but he's shown he's a capable shooter from the outside and a big backcourt piece there. And again, a veteran piece for Coach Ragland at Evansville. So a good week so far from the portal, and whether it's going out and getting guys or at least keeping guys, as we saw with Joshua Hughes, it's been a good week for the Purple Aces. As for the portal, and we have talked about the additions, the bundle of additions that we've seen at Murray State, and yesterday another commitment, and this one a big one, literally and figuratively. 7-foot Dylan Anderson is now committed to be a Murray State racer. Went to Arizona out of high school. He was a 2-time Gatorade Player of the Year in Arizona out of high school. Top 100 kid out of high school in that class of 2022. Played 1 season at Arizona, then redshirted his second year. They had a ton of 7-footers out at Arizona. Wanted to develop. Well, after that second year, transferred to Boise State. Averaged 3.5 points, 1.7 rebounds last year with Boise. He was pretty good early in the year. Averaged first 8 games, he averaged 8.5 points, but the last 16 games of the year where he saw action, he scored a total of 16 points and was scoreless in 13 of those. Just fell out of the rotation, only played 4 times after January 22nd, but this is another high upside, high pedigree kid. When he left Arizona and went to Boise State, he had 3 finalists reportedly that were Texas, Washington, and Creighton. And of course, former Creighton assistant coach Ryan Miller, now the head coach at Murray State. So as we will talk about multiple times here this morning, this is a relationship business. And there are a lot of relationships that have paid off for Ryan Miller there at Murray State with the Creighton ties that they have brought in. And Dylan Anderson is one of those. There is a ton of height now and a ton of size on this Murray State team, as you've got Anderson at 7 feet. Fred King, the transfer from Creighton, comes in at 6'10". Brock Weiss coming from North Texas, 6'10". Mason Miller from Creighton, 6'9". JJ Traynor, 6'8". So a lot of size right now in Murray, Kentucky, for head coach Ryan Miller. All right, time to welcome in our guest. He is the radio voice of the Northern Iowa Panthers, and he is Jay. Cox, and he is with us this morning. Mr. Cox, how are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. How was? I hate to tear you away from spring football duties. How's life over there in Cedar Falls?
Oh, it's good. There's a lot of fun, and it's always fun to talk some basketball. And so, thanks to you for this program and making me a part of it. There's never enough Valley chatter, even outside the bounds of November to March. So I'm glad to be doing this. And yeah, I mean it's good here, and we know that football is happening, and we've got a lot going on with a brand new coach and a lot of excitement there and a lot of momentum from that'll play out certainly in the fall. But we know basketball's always got an undercurrent going on and who's going to be there. And obviously with our squad, we've been fortunate to keep a bunch of guys, so we know what those names, what a lot of those names are going to be. And now there's just some excitement around what other pieces happen to fit in when we show up or when they show up and start to play and practice even ahead of that in the summer.
Last season, third in the Valley in the regular season, 14-6 in the conference, 20-13 overall. Going into Arch Madness, it felt like, boy, if ever there was a year there was going to be chaos, this felt like it was going to be the year. And in the end, it was a very chalky tournament outside of Valparaiso, who coming out of the 11 spot beats UIC and then upsets UNI there in the quarterfinals on Friday. I guess with a month's perspective now on things, what was sort of your feeling the way the season ended, and did it live up to expectations or did it fall a little bit short?
Well, I think anytime you can't win a game, in St. Louis, and I think anybody around the program would say there's going to be some disappointment around that, the way that it happened, because like you said, there was a lot of positives to this team, and even with what they had to go through with the adversity of the injuries that they had and the starters that they lost and the potential minutes that were lost or games lost among guys that were injured over the balance of the season, they still found a way to, like you say, finish third in the league and find themselves in a spot to get a bye in St. Louis and play a team that was an 11 seed that, yeah, you'd only played once and they had beaten at Valpo, but you liked your chances going in there to get a win and then see what you could do on a Saturday in St. Louis. So there's obviously some disappointment there, but I think with the perspective, and that's a good point in what you said and how you phrased the question, the perspective of the positives that did happen and the development that came with some of the guys that are now going to come back, and also the celebratory run of the way Titan Anderson and Jacob Hudson, specifically as two seniors, were able to complete their senior years, and certainly what Titan meant to this program being here throughout his career, Huddy over the last two, and then the other senior in Cale Schmidt, and the way he finally was able to get on the floor, one of those guys that dealt with injuries early on and we thought was going to be more of a rotation guy throughout the balance of the year. But when he finally did get on the floor, I mean, he was such an impact guy on defense and hitting some big shots on offense. When the Panthers, were down big in that game to Valpo and then started to come back, it was his defense and a couple of his big three-pointers that helped even make that a game there outside of it was a real bad 15-minute stretch of basketball for the Panthers. Or you look the other side, it was a real good stretch of 15 minutes of offense for Valpo and Roger Powell and that group. So you got to give them credit too. But you look at the numbers in that game, and the Panthers did a lot of really good things outside of that stretch. And then All Right got real hot, and so that was tough. It was certainly a tough way to go, but there was a lot of positives. And you look at the developmental side for some of the guys that'll be coming back, and I think everybody feels good about what you can build towards now with the core that they've solidified moving forward.
Want to put a quick bow on last year and certainly the career of Titan Anderson, an all league guy. I guess in the last, the notes coming out of the conference, the last 50 years, there's only been 4 players in Missouri Valley history with 1,300 points, 800 rebounds, 200 assists, 145 steals. And that's Marcus Timmons from Southern Illinois, Hersey Hawkins from Bradley, some guy named Larry Bird from Indiana State, and Titan Anderson. I mean, that is the highest of high compliments for his career. What sort of lasting legacy and impact does he have on this program, and how's he going to be remembered by the fan base?
Well, he's going to be remembered by the fan base to start there as just the ultimate Panther. And in this day and age, that's going to be hard to come by, that kind of label, right? Because guys are going to come and go, and you're going to have really good players that come in and give a lot of heart and effort to a team, but it might not be for the length of time that Titan did with everything that went on. So that's how the fans are going to see him, as a guy that they can always point to and say, yeah, that is a UNI Panther from the way he came in. Not heralded to be a guy that would end up on a list like that, right? Not you didn't know when Titan Anderson started, and maybe even in year 2, that he'd have the ability to do that. but the work that he put in, and then that gets to the Titan and the legacy of it, the work that he put in and doing things the right way and taking ownership of his body, his workout, his work ethic, putting himself in a position physically to be able to go compete, and then his game, right? Working on his game to become the offensive player that he was, to add to the rebounding that he did, and then the passing ability. You talked to Coach Jake over the last year and a half about Titan, and that's one of the things that always is going to come up, his ability to find his teammates and to understand what they wanted to do in the offense, and that's where those assists started to pile up for him over the last 2 years. And so he's just the ultimate team guy. And that's what sticks with me in conversations about him, about Titan. You never see Titan. You see him get fired up, right? He is a fiery player. He's a competitor. But very few times was it only about something that he did or that he accomplished. It was always more fire from Titan when it was something he was able to set his teammate up for or celebrating something his teammate did. And then that trickled down through the entire program, his teammates that played with him. And I think that'll be a legacy of something that people will be able to point to for Titan when he's gone. And as things start to move on from that, that'll always be something that sticks around when you talk about Titan Anderson.
Watching him with a front row seat the last couple of years. I mean, he said, if there was an all freight train team in the Missouri Valley, like, I mean, he's the MVP. I mean, it's just, I don't know that there was anybody comparable to him in the league. And, he's on a short list around the country. Just, we always talk about playing downhill, that it was just his ferocity going downhill and certainly on the defensive end when he would just attack. It was, man, what a blessing to get to watch him play for 33 nights this season that you had. What a battery and a motor on that kid that just the battery never seemed to run dry.
Yeah, and that was the incredible thing with injuries that happened around him and just little things, right? Like Jacob Hudson goes down with him. You feel like that's going to happen. And that's not to say, like, I see behind the scenes too, and I know how much Titan had to battle, and there were little nagging things that he was always playing through, as guys do, right? Guys that have to be the guy, they have to find their way to gut out some things that might put you and I on the sideline. Not might, would definitely put you and I on the sideline. But yeah, that's where that battery and that motor and that freight train comes in, right? Because he was not going to let anything derail this particular season. And that's why I use the word celebration. Like, no matter what the results were throughout the year, ups and downs, and there were a lot of good results, right? But it was good to see him kind of get to make that run from start to finish and play in every game and be impactful in every game and have some big moments like hitting the winner against Illinois State. He had some other big moments late in games at home too. That was just good for him. Even though the season didn't end the way anybody wanted it to, it was just really good for him to have that last ride and a lot of success over the last ride in this last year.
We have seen sort of this shift in college basketball that when we enter portal season, you almost, especially on the men's side, you just default to everybody's leaving until you hear differently. That the guys are coming back, and it's almost the annual rite of passage of, hey, I'm back. And it's like, okay, great, wonderful. Northern Iowa seemed publicly, at least, and there were some breadcrumbs laid down. And I know that Coach Jacobson towards the end of March in a press conference said, hey, we got guys coming back, but there hasn't been this social media onslaught of, hey, I'm back, individuals. And then we saw a couple days ago, we're coming back, and here's the 11, and it was just like, okay, this is a group now that we're not hanging banners in April, but you're like, look, man, this team finished third last year. You're losing a couple of big pieces, but what a nucleus to bring back. Where's the optimism right now here on April the 23rd that this group has a chance to make a run at this thing?
Well, I think you look on that graphic, and there's a lot of places you can point, but for me, it starts on the bottom right as we look at it with Trey Campbell, because he is a guy that, yeah, there's a lot of excitement and guys that were injured like Leon Bond and RJ Taylor that you hope to get back, and they will impact this team, and Will Hornstead take another step forward. But you look at Trey Campbell, and he deserves to be the focal point of what the Panthers have coming back because for so many reasons, because he's really good and because he made the decision to do this again. He is going to be a 4-year guy and a 4-year starter. Just the way things went his freshman year, he ended up starting that season too. And it's such a rarity, a 4-year starter at one place. Think about that. Now we come out of an era, he's not even going to be a 5-year guy with an extra year of eligibility because he's post-COVID and all of that. So Trey is a real unicorn when it comes to that, and staying somewhere where he feels comfortable. It's not just because he went to high school here. It's because of the relationships. You were talking a little bit about that before I came on. The relationships that he's built here, he clearly values that. His coaches value that in him and what they've gotten back from him. And then you go to the basketball side, and for me, I think he's easily an all-league defensive caliber guy, especially if he doesn't have to be a primary ball handler for a bulk of the season due to injury like he did this year. But he can be. He can handle the basketball, and then maybe he's at his best offensively when he doesn't have to be the main ball handler. You get a guy like R.J. Taylor back to help set things up and have some depth at the point guard spot where he can play off the ball. I think anybody that's watched Trey knows that there's a lot to his game, and he can go and just ask any Illinois State fan, right? He seems to find a gear against the Redbirds every single time. But that game, those kinds of games are always there in Trey. So for me, for his commitment, for his development over the years now, and for his commitment to this program, he's where he deserves to be the focal point of where we start going into next year. And that's one of the most exciting things for me, to watch what he gets to do now in his senior year after putting in all that work and being ready to go.
When there have been so many eyes, though, on guys like Titan Anderson and Jacob Hudson, and Trey's been able to kind of operate maybe on the fringes a little bit, and will just no one's he's not number one on the scouting report. And then you look at the end of the night and you're like, oh my gosh, that guy just killed us. But now that he will be the number one guy on the scouting report, how do you think he's prepared to handle that sort of burden?
Well, I think he is mentally prepared to handle that. You never know until you get in it, right? Because that's a dynamic not a lot of people think of. They see Trey Campbell, he put up 25 points. Yeah, he's the guy. Well, okay, you got to think about how teams are scouting and what teams are trying to take away, and obviously teams are going to take away Titan Anderson, all that you laid out, and that's the good thing. He's going to have a guy like Leon Bond, who teams are going to have to account for. R.J. Taylor is going to be a guy who has stepped up and improved his offensive game to a point where he's going to be up there on that scouting report. A guy like Max Weisbrod and Kyle Polk, guys that can impact how teams shift around their defense and can allow Trey to operate. But yes, he's going to have to be the guy, and there's going to be nights when all eyes are going to be on him, and he's going to have to power through that. And that's one of the things I like the most about Trey. He's not a demonstrative, flashy. He's not Titan Anderson in that side, right? Like you probably couldn't find two different guys. But that doesn't mean there's not the freight train and there's not the fire inside of him. And so I think that's what I'm looking forward to, is seeing that unleashed a little bit, because he knows he's the guy, and he's learned and seen different leaders, whether it was Bowen Bourne in his younger days, who did fire guys up on the floor a little bit. And then Titan Anderson certainly was that fiery leader on the floor. And so I think Trey's seen what it takes, and I don't think he's ever going to be same at that level. It's just not his personality, but it's going to be a different Trey, and that's going to allow him to be a focal point and be a guy that's going to impact the game at a high level, no matter what the defenses are trying to do to focus in on. Because that's the difference, right? That's the difference between being a guy who can do it and a guy who does it night to night in the Valley, is just powering through, because you're going to have hard nights where you're getting all the best looks or all the best defenders, and you're going to have to power through and still impact the team. And I think there's a lot of that coming for Trey Campbell, just with the way he's developed and the way he's focused on being such a big impact guy for this team.
Ben Jacobson signed 3 high school kids back in the fall. 6'8" Jalen Wilson, 6'4" guard Gian Hutchins out of Detroit. Also got Mr. Basketball in Iowa in Trevin Urich, who recently decommitted and went with Ben McCollum over to Iowa. I know that on the outside, sometimes people get shocked by news, and usually behind the scenes, there's been things, balls in the air and stuff in motion for a long time. Where was your level of surprise when Trevin decided to flip over to Iowa?
Yeah, I mean, there's always, I think you said it right. There's always the disappointment, and I'm never privy to all of those conversations that might be going on. And my first thought is I just feel bad for our coaching staff, right? Because I know how much they pour into everybody that they recruit, and what they, the work that they put in to get guys to that point where they've committed, and you announce it and you're ready to go. And that's not to say that anything besides that. You just know the work that goes in. But on the flip side of that, I know that they're going to go to work and find a way to replace that piece too. So it's the world that we live in. He's not the first guy to decommit and go somewhere else. And when changes happen at a coaching level, you certainly know that can be a possibility. So you just move on. And that's the thing with this coaching staff. That's one of the blessings of my job, is getting to see the work that they do and work with them on a day-to-day basis. And I just know that they're out there, and then they're going to find the right pieces to round out the class, whether it's through the transfer portal or another freshman that they can find a way to work into the system. And so there's a lot of confidence around what they can do to replace a guy that was going to be a good player, and certainly everybody was excited about with good reason.
In the old days, it was, man, I know they're committed. You just got to get them signed, and then everything's good. Now it's like you got to sign them in November, and then hold your breath for 7 months
That's
until
off,
you
right?
get them to campus around Memorial Day. So, recently, one of the all-timers at Northern Iowa, Ali Farouk-Manesh, who hit one of the great shots in NCAA tournament history, named the head coach at Colorado State, and I thought it was really neat to see his former head coach Ben Jacobson being there for him. What did that say to you about sort of the relationship those two have, and then but also just the relationship that Coach Jacobson just keeps with guys over years and now decades, that it was important for him to be there for that day?
I mean, I think it says everything about that word you mentioned, relationships. It's not just about those shots, and trust me, he remembers all these shots. He was talking to me on a podcast before Arch Madness, and he recalled specific timeouts and shots that Ali said, yeah, I'll take this one, and they drew it up for him again. And so, like, he's got that locked in, the basketball that all happened between those two. But more so, it's the relationships, and I think that is why you end up with 11 guys coming back. Like, they see that's what's important to this coaching staff and to Coach Jake specifically as the head coach. It's just an incredible testimony to the impact that he's had on these guys' lives. And the other story that I would tell you, Jeff, about that is that picture, like, that came from Colorado State because they were there. It's funny. I don't remember where I was when that was happening. I don't even think I was in town at the moment when that happened, but I remember seeing it on social media from Colorado State, because that wasn't something that he even told anybody within the athletics department that he was necessarily going to go do when that was announced. He just did it. He didn't do it so he could take a picture with Ali and say, hey, this is my coaching tree and I'm excited. He is excited for Ali. I know that. He's jazzed that he's getting that opportunity. But he wanted to go there to support him. No matter what came of that, he was going to be there to support a guy taking a huge step in his career and getting a huge opportunity. And so that just speaks a lot to the character of Coach Jake and why he does the things that he does. And it's all about those relationships that he builds. He builds that with his players. He builds that with the community. He builds that with broadcasters. I mean, I haven't been around that long, and I still feel that too from the way he treats everybody. So I think that moment and him being there, yes, it's a lot about who Ali is and the young coach that he is going to be and the support that his coach is giving him. But more so, it speaks to what is important in this program and what that means to players and to fans and to everybody within a community.
MTE season was always an important week for us in the mid-major world, because we were getting our shots at big boys and on neutral floors, and that's kind of changing and evolving as we go. That some of these big schools aren't that interested in going to those events now and going to these NIL events, and we see that you and I heading to the Acrisure Series Thanksgiving week out in Palm Desert, California, which is kind of there's a bunch of teams that they pod into groups of 4, and you and I with Nevada, old friend Loyola Chicago, and Tulsa. It's like, look, that's at least, if everybody takes care of business, opportunities for a couple top 100 games, if nothing else. It feels like, all things considered, not too bad for an MTE. Where do you sit right now with what you and I's got coming up there?
Yeah, I mean, I think you said it perfectly. Those are still really good opportunities. It's not the same as it used to be where you get the big flashy win. I mean, the closest we got to that is I laugh about our MTV was in Orlando, and one of the teams on the other side of the pod was Florida. And so we stood there in a bus bay with the eventual national champions, but that's about as close as we got to that as far as the pods go. But you look at who we played and had, again, you take care of business. We had a chance to beat a team that turned into a good team in North Texas. Utah State was a team that was there. That's who we would have played had we won. Even St. Bonaventure, after losing the first game, that was another good team to potentially get a win against. So you even look at history, and had you taken care of business in those situations, like a team like Drake did, right? You look at their MTE, that was pretty good. And the same thing for Bradley. They took care of their business too. no matter who you're playing, like you say, these are not going to be bad wins by any stretch of the imagination. And so you're going to get an opportunity to take care of business. And I think that's the biggest thing for this Panther team with what they've got coming back. It's that early momentum that can spell so much success for a team once you do then get into conference season. We all know the importance of conference season. We all know the importance of those 3 days in March in St. Louis. But again, to be a team that finds a way to have success in those phases, getting off to a good early start against some good competition like that would be huge. And I think you have to take every opportunity that you're given to go somewhere and beat some good teams.
Your pop quiz that I give seemingly to every guy, a radio guy that's on here. What else we got in the non-conference that you know of right now in terms of returning home and homes or anything of that like?
Nothing that's been solidified as far as the actual schedule goes. We've got that Irvine game hanging out there because that was a home and home when we played them. There's been some other potential new ones signed as well, but nothing that they've sorted out besides that MTE. So that's part of the excitement too. You find out here in the next few weeks how that gets all settled out, and fans can start to get excited, which was a fun thing. You talk about Titan Anderson and kind of his swan song season. That was such a fun thing about the Panthers schedule, how it's set up. They had 7 home games, in the non-conference in that early stretch of the year. And that was so crucial. And they did really well in those. The only one they lost was to that Irvine team that ended up going to the NIT finals. But it's so fun to be able to showcase a team in front of your home fans that much early in the year and get them to buy in. And I think that's even more important now, right? The Panthers are going to have 11 known names coming back, plus some freshmen that people have been talking about. But in this world of transfers and some new rosters, like at Murray State, how fun is it going to be to have some home games where guys can see, or fans can see these new guys and then start to build that excitement around them and really buy into what this team is going to be. And so that was important last year. And so that's going to be fun to see how the schedule shakes out, and not just the MTEs or where we get to go, but also having those home games is super important to get that fan base engaged with the team on a given year.
He is JW Cox. He is the men's basketball radio voice for the Panthers of Northern Iowa. Thanks so much. I'll let you go take care of dad duty over there.
You saw that, huh? You saw that.
I know all too well the here, just the little side of just keeping everybody at arm's length there, trying to multitask. So I appreciate the time today.
Absolutely, Jeff. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. There's JW Cox. Yes, I am. On some level, it's like, oh, you missed the little ones. On the other level, you're like, oh, I'm glad they're teenagers and they want nothing to do with us old parents at this point. So at least you can get some peace and quiet to try to get some work done. Some other news out of Murray State yesterday. We talked about the signing of the commitment of 7-footer Dylan Anderson out of Boise State. They have also announced, this isn't, I guess yesterday, the official announcement of Ernie Kuiper as the general manager of the Murray State men's basketball program. And that is going to be a position. It's the first time they've had this position at Murray State. It is a position you're going to see added more around. It has popped up periodically around the college basketball world. I am not familiar with anyone else in the Missouri Valley right now that has a general manager. And in the end, that is a position that's going to be in some ways a catch-all, I think. And at every place, it's going to be a little bit different. There's Kuiper from on the left in the middle there with new head coach Ryan Miller at Murray State. I think the primary point for him for Kuiper is he's going to be sort of a go-between between the Murray State administration, between the Murray State coaching staff, and especially now as we work towards the finalization of this House settlement, where schools are going to have the opportunity to share revenue with the players and the collectives, especially at the mid-major level. The importance of the collectives lowers a little bit because the money's just going to be able to come from in-house. And so I think there will, that position, at least at Murray State, I think will be a little more of a go-between. Certainly Kuiper has, he is cousins with Ryan Miller. They obviously go back forever, but he has been a staple in the Memphis AAU basketball community. He has run AAU organizations there, and so he is super tied in to the Memphis area, which is such a hub, and with the ties to obviously John Morant with the Grizzlies, Mike Miller, who's Ryan's brother, who is Ja's agent. There's a lot going on. They reportedly recently offered a young man named Axton Perry, who's from Bartlett, Tennessee, just outside of Memphis, and he was a Hoop City basketball kid, which was the organization that Ernie Kuiper was involved in. So I think there are so many branches to the tree of what he's going to be able to bring to the program. But it's just another in this NIL space, in this revenue sharing space, that this is an important position now that you're going to see pop up around college basketball, and it has made its way now to Murray State. Speaking of personnel and hires, we have, and it's an interesting the butterfly effect sometimes of how one thing leads to another. At Drake, new head coach Eric Henderson announced a couple hirings yesterday. He announced Kyle Ryan as his new director of basketball operations. And again, we talk about relationships. Ryan was a student manager at South Dakota State back in 2023 when Eric Henderson was the head coach there. And so now that relationship has helped move Ryan and get his first real position in men's college basketball there as the director of ops at Drake. He worked in Minnesota's women's program most recently. And so now he is back with Coach Henderson. Also announcing, did Henderson, the hiring of Warren Niles, who comes over from Omaha. And so he will be a new assistant coach there with the Bulldogs. Now, Niles' hiring is a butterfly effect from Omaha that has benefited Valparaiso because what you have here is, as we told you on Monday, that Mark Brown, who was a junior college standout at Snow Junior College, a team that was, I think, 32-2 this year, made it the second round of the national tournament, averaged 13.5 points, 4.5 assists. He had committed to go to Omaha. Well, as soon as Warren Niles announces, I'm leaving Omaha to go to Drake, Mr. Snow reopened his commitment. And when that happened, Roger Powell, apparently at Valparaiso, our friend Paul Oren at the victorybell.com, sort of recapping Brown's whirlwind recruitment. And Roger Powell got on a plane and flew out and met Mark Brown and said, we need you. And Brown committed before Powell left the living room. And so that is, we talk about it a lot, that, and it's hard for fans to understand, and I get it, but kids don't commit to schools. Kids commit to coaches. And in this case, they committed to an assistant coach. And so when there are coaching changes of any kind, kids tend to look elsewhere. And I'm sure that Mark Snow probably was like, hey, I like you. Do you want to take me to Drake? And, and that's a wild turn down speculation avenue. But when his coach was gone, he was looking for other opportunities. And that opportunity is now at Valparaiso. Speaking of Valparaiso and speaking of decommitments that they were beneficial on the receiving end, on the good side, a young man by the name of Kobe Walker. He has committed to Valparaiso. He is a 6'10", 250-pound beast in the middle. He had originally committed to Central Michigan out of high school. He is from Normal, Illinois, so able to out of Illinois State's backyard, ended up committing at Central Michigan. Well, Tony Barbie let go at Central Michigan, and there we go again, needing to find somewhere else to go, and he ends up at Valpo. I mean, again, 6'10", 250, a Class 4A first-team All-Stater in Illinois, 19 points, 12.5 rebounds, almost 2 blocks a game. He is a beast in the middle, and it'll be interesting to see how quickly he will be able to get into the rotation for Roger Powell and what kind of immediate impact he will be able to have with the Beacons. Some other recruiting news now on the women's side, and a young lady by the name of Lexi Carlson has committed to Drake as Lexi played her freshman season. Let me try to find Lexi. Here she is. Played her freshman season at Northern Illinois. Her mom, Lisa, was the head coach there, averaged 8.4 points per game as a freshman. And Lisa resigned after this season. So Lexi looking for a new home. She ends up committing to Drake. And certainly with the Katie Dinnebeers of the world moving on, looking for some more offensive firepower is Allison Pullman, and may very well have found some there in Lexi Carlson. Again, 5'8", freshman, 3 years remaining, shot 42% from three, 5 attempts a game. So it wasn't, she wasn't 4 for 10 for the season. So 42% and change from three. So a nice get there for Coach Pullman. Kelly Bond White at Southern Illinois has gone out and got a couple commitments, actually signings here in the last 48 hours. The first one, a familiar face to Missouri Valley fans. She is India Green, she is from Springfield, Missouri, played her first 2 years at Missouri State, was a 8.7 rebound player her freshman season, went 10-7 her sophomore season, transferred out of Springfield, left home, went down to Georgia Southern, where she had 12 points, 9 rebounds a game for Georgia Southern, but she is now coming back to the Missouri Valley and an opportunity to really bolster the middle for SIU, especially with Gift Uchenna, who had left for the transfer portal. Kelly Bond White looking for some reinforcements. She also picked up a signing from a local girl, Elena Kraus, who is from Oakville, Illinois, just up the road from Carbondale. Won a couple of state championships in high school at Oakville. She had gone on to Oral Roberts for a really good Oral Roberts team. 15 games as a freshman, averaged about 3.5 points a game. Not much from a three-point shooting department, 5 of 13 for the year, but 38-39%. So a good local pickup, certainly, and you like to think that Elena sees some playing time there in Carbondale. She's going to be able to bring some local folks into the games there at Banterra Center to help support the Salukis. I ran into this yesterday. Just now that the season has ended, there's a company named Synergy that put out. And I don't know the metrics behind it. I don't know how they came to these numbers, but they put out the top 16 most efficient offenses in women's college basketball across all levels last year in the country. And 2 of those 16 came from the Missouri Valley, and that was Murray State and it was Illinois State. And just looking again, don't know the metrics they use to decide who the top 16 were, but when you just look at Murray State was the number 2 scoring team in America last year at 86.8 points a game. They were 1/10 of a point away from being the number 1 offense in America. Field goal percentage shooting, they were 34th in the country at 45%. Illinois State, from a scoring standpoint, 76 a game. That was 32nd best in the country. Their field goal percentage, they were number 4 nationally this year, 48.8%. So, you get the number 2 scoring offense, the number 4 field goal percentage offense. All that math checks out that those 2 finished up in the top 16 in America across all levels of women's college basketball. On the men's side, a couple more commitments to pass along. We've got at Illinois State, and Ryan Peden brought so many guys back, as we have talked about ad nauseum here the last couple of weeks. Well, he got a local kid who left to come back home, Landon Moore, who is from Bloomington, Illinois, 6'3" guard, commits to the Redbirds. Played his freshman season at St. Francis of Pennsylvania, averaged 13 points a game, shot 36% from beyond the arc, spun out of that, and went to Butler for the last 2 years. Never really found his footing at Butler. 4 points a game 2 years ago, just 3 points a game this last year. Shooting really dropped off this year. Was only 21% from 3 here as a junior, but certainly you saw what he could do a couple years ago at St. Francis, and Ryan Peden bringing a local kid home that has shown he can go. And so congratulations to Landon Moore for his commitment. And finally, one other piece of news that may bear some fruit. Tomorrow, Braxton Bayless is reportedly visiting UIC. He played this past season at Western Kentucky. He is a 6'2 senior, averaged about 8 points a game, shot 43.4% from three. So with the departures there in Chicago, certainly Javon Jackson, their leading scorer, going to Murray State this year. Rob Eson needing some offensive firepower, and Braxton Bayless again reportedly on a visit there coming up tomorrow. So we will see if we have any commitment news for you coming up on Friday right here on Morning in the Valley. All right, that does it for today's edition of Morning in the Valley. I want to thank Northern Iowa men's basketball radio voice JW Cox for being with us. Coming up on Monday, we will talk with Belmont men's basketball coach Casey Alexander. We've got Missouri Valley Conference Commissioner Jeff Jackson in the hopper as well. He'll be joining us next week, I believe. I believe it's the end of next week. He will be with us. So we'll talk with the commish as well. Lots to get to with him, but appreciate again everybody that has helped this little train continue to grow since we started this about 3 weeks ago. Glad you have been with us. If you have not liked, share, subscribed, all that stuff, again, if you could help us out, that would do wonders to get this out to so many fans in the Missouri Valley Conference. Again, just go to YouTube, search out Morning in the Valley, subscribe to that page, and you'll get notified every time we go live, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 9 o'clock right here. So have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday. We will see you Friday morning, 9 a.m. right here on Morning in the Valley.